Doing a preview on a Tuesday? That's because we're playing on a Thursday. What is up, Fin fans? Got a good one for you today. Previewing the Baltimore Ravens heading to Miami to take on them Dolphins. I got my guy Engraven on. You know, we circled it on the calendar. I was like, well, we're playing the Ravens. Engraven, listen, give me this. And he said, you got it, man. I'm actually over on his channel too. I think that video is coming out Thursday. You can go check that out. But before we jump into that, so essentially we're going to talk to Engraven, then we're going to go over the injury report, go over the 5 things, give you my prediction, and then we get to comment of the day. Before we go into that, I got to shout out some new members. Got 3 new members, and Brother Larry, Drew Walton, and Michael Austin. Thank you guys so much for joining the membership. Again, if you did join the membership, you're seeing this early. Hit the join button next to subscribe to join the membership if you'd like, and also the Patreon. It is linked in the description. Patreon gets different perks than members. If you're asking, well, why? What's the different perks for different areas? But let's jump into Engraven and all the good things that we talked about. It was a very good conversation. I got the man, the myth, the legend, Baltimore Raven finest, Engraven. How you doing, bud?
I'm good.
He wasn't ready for that. I didn't tell him I was going to give him a nice introduction.
I'm good. I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
Yeah, of all the people, I was like, I saw this game on a Thursday night. I was like, I gotta get my man on here and I gotta pick his brain. I wish it was under different circumstances and the Dolphins weren't 2-7 in this game. Potentially would have been a better game, but it is what it is. How are you doing? How are you feeling about? That's first and foremost. How are you feeling about the Ravens? How are you feeling about the trajectory that they're going in? You guys, I've watched so many of your live streams have the craziest games this year. Yeah. Overtime after overtime after overtime. How are you feeling about the Ravens this year?
They love stressing us out. They love driving us crazy. They love just taking it to the wire. When it comes to the easy stuff, they don't do that too often. Like they've had 3 games where we've known in the fourth quarter who was gonna win. 2 of those the Ravens end up winning, and one of those the Ravens end up getting whooped by the Bengals a couple of weeks ago. But for the rest, they've just all been insanity. But one thing about it, in a lot of those games the Ravens have been down, they've shown that they can come back. They can come back from being down multiple scores, because that was a narrative that was continuously pushed out there, but now that's been shut down multiple times against multiple teams. So that's a beautiful thing. And going into this season, and even throughout the season, the Ravens, they lost a whole lot of people. Yeah, a whole lot of people. Their injured reserve team could be probably a Pro Bowl team, really. They got so many guys and so many significant guys on injury reserve. But the fact that despite that, they're sitting at 6-2, that says a lot. Because if you would have given me the list of Ravens players who are going to be on injury reserve, I'm looking at all these names, these starters, these impact players for the team, and you would have told me at this point of the season, going into week 10, Ravens are going to be 6-2. I would have been like, I know we have Lamar, and with Lamar, he makes a lot of stuff possible that with some other quarterbacks said probably wouldn't happen. But 6-2, this team, as injured as they are, especially with that schedule, I don't know about that one, but they've done it. So it just it's been nice. It's been painfully nice because again, the pain with those injuries is crazy. But it speaks volumes to the coaching staff and the front office and the players, to the fact that they lost so many guys, but they're still sitting in this position high in the AFC. I guess tied for second place in the AFC right now behind the Titans. Man, Rams, I don't know why Rams couldn't take care of business, but
right,
it is what it is.
I picked the Rams to win last night, and of course Stafford went back to his lying days. That's what he did. He went back to it. He's like, I gotta throw dumb interceptions out of the end zone instead of
crazy.
But so you guys sitting there at 6-2, short week. Does that worry you at all? I know it's the Dolphins, and we'll get to that in a second, but does it worry you at all? Short week heading to Miami, you have to play on Thursday night.
Yes and no, because this team, they normally do pretty good on the short weeks. And especially with them coming off of a tough win.
Yeah.
Then they and really this whole season they've been battle tested all throughout. And with it being the Dolphins, it is any given Sunday, in this case, any given Thursday. And not with the Dolphins, it doesn't worry me that it's a short week. What worries me about the Dolphins is that they know, they could, sitting at 2-7, they could go on crazy run and end up 10-7 because of 17 games this year. Now we don't expect that to happen, but right now the Dolphins, they pretty much know, all right, we don't really have anything to play for.
Yeah.
And when you are going up against a team that has nothing to play for, those are the most dangerous kind of teams because they have nothing to lose. What's the worst that could happen? What's the worst that people could say? What's the worst reaction that the Dolphins will get if they lost? Okay, we lost. We were expected to lose. But that's why they're so dangerous, because they don't have anything to play for. So when you don't have anything to play for, you take a lot more chances. You do a lot more risk, and you just put it all out there because you're like, all right, well, I don't know what's going to happen with this team next year. It's a lot of guys that might not be here in the future. You know what? Let's just put it all out there, see what we got, because now it's an evaluating process. It's an evaluation process for Brian Flores, for the GM, for just everybody. So they're looking at everybody. They're looking at all the players. The front office, they're looking at all the coaches. Everybody is being examined that much closer now to see, all right, 2-7, what you gonna do? Are you worth keeping? Are you not worth keeping? So that's why I feel like the Dolphins, it is a trap game.
Yeah.
It's definitely a trap game. It's a trap game for sure. But it's just that's the part that worries me the most. The fact, like I said, that they don't have anything to play for. And so they could throw everything out there.
Yeah. And we saw yesterday the friggin' Bills Jaguars.
Yeah.
You never overlook a football team. Never overlook them. But with the history of the Dolphins and the Ravens, I think we won one time in the past decade, 2 decades. Like the Ravens are the bullies of the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins are the nerd, and the Ravens come over and give us a wedgie, push us in the locker, and they move on with their day. That being said, is there what is the one strength that the Dolphins should worry about with the Ravens, and what is the one weakness that the Dolphins should try to exploit with the Ravens, being that you have firsthand knowledge?
Strength of the Ravens, just really letting Lamar get loose.
Yeah.
Because he's shown, especially this season, that he can throw that football anywhere. He can get that football to anybody. And the Ravens actually have legitimate wide receivers. Now, biggest weakness though would be, or one of the biggest weaknesses I would say would be the offensive line. Ravens offensive line, they have been hurt. They lost the starting left tackle for the year, lost a starting right tackle he has a high ankle sprain, so he's been out for the past couple of weeks. So we don't even know when he's coming back. They've been beat up, lost the starting left guard. But the offensive line, they've been pretty bad. Yeah. And Lamar he hasn't had many opportunities to really get comfortable, and the offensive line hasn't had many opportunities where they're really getting in the rhythm, to where the Ravens have that balance of the run game and the passing game. Now, if you just look at the numbers, because I know Ravens are one of the top ranked running teams in the league. If you look at that, you'd be like, oh man, no, the offensive line should be fine if Ravens are running. They're one of the top ranked run teams in the league. But if you look at the games, you can tell that they're not. That the offensive line it's been rough. It's been really rough. And the one thing that's so weird, this is why numbers, they don't tell the whole story. I know the Ravens, they have like one of the best pass block and run block win percentages when it comes to the offensive line. But then when I watch the game, I don't see that. we don't see that as Ravens fans at all. And it's like, man, where do these numbers come from? So I would say that one of the biggest weaknesses is the offensive line.
It's funny you bring that up too, because the Dolphins in the offseason bring in Matt Skura, was with the Baltimore Ravens. And he, like you said, I think when we signed him, the biggest thing that I noticed was his high win percentage of pass and run blocking. So I'm like, they're bringing a pretty cool guy. He doesn't even make the team. So it's like,
it's crazy.
My biggest thing, especially with the Ravens, because you guys have the history of drafting well, signing well. You know, you have one of the greatest GMs to ever be a GM. If you guys let a player go, just let that player go. Don't try to sign them, because obviously the Ravens know, even the Steelers too. There's that history with the Ravens and the Steelers. When they let players go, just leave them alone, because they don't have it anymore. Because if they did, you guys would keep them. Looking at this game Thursday night, do you like, I know we keep saying any given day. What are the percent chances that you think the Dolphins will pull off a surprise win?
I would give it I'll give it a 20% chance. And I know some people may even think that that's a bit high. But again, it's just again, like you said, any given Sunday. And we've seen crazier stuff happen. And I remember one of the Dolphins and Ravens games was I want to say it was Greg Camarillo, the wide receiver, in that overtime in 2007.
Yes, 2007.
But where the game went to overtime and he broke game-winning touchdown, and like everybody was expecting the Ravens to win, but they obviously didn't. So I mean, and again, like you just brought up with the Jaguars and Bills, crazier things have happened. Like going into that game, the Jaguars and Bills. Oh yeah, Bills got that for sure, no doubt in my mind. The Jaguars been playing so bad, and boom, Jaguars win what 9-6, something like that.
Yeah, like a baseball score. It was crazy.
Yeah, so I would say a 20% chance. Now the Ravens under Lamar Jackson, they've taken care of business within the games they're supposed to take care of business in. They have not fallen for the trap games, and that was something that happened a lot of times. That's my guy, but it did happen a lot of times with Joe Flacco. They would fall for those trap games, and they'd be like, "Oh man!" But under Lamar, they've taken care of business. So, like I said, I still get the Dolphins a 20% chance, because you just never know. But I hope that everything that's expected goes down.
What's your final score prediction? What are you thinking?
Final score prediction. Oh, because Ravens, like, oof. I'm thinking about the last game, week 1 in 2019. I think it was like 59-10.
It was bad.
That's when Lamar coming out party. Yeah, MVP season. Threw 5 touchdowns in that game. Dolphins, they are just in really bad shape right now. Not sure if Tua is going to start or not. I don't think he will, but Jacoby Brissett, he can still bring his own problems too.
Who would you prefer to face? Who would you prefer to face, Tua or Brissett?
Tua. The reason being because I know his confidence has got to be shot right now. Yeah. He is just, and I feel like if they put him out, oh man, I feel like the Dolphins with Jacoby Brissett, it'll make it a better game. But with Tua, I just feel like it could get nasty quick. So, but I mean, we'll see in a couple of days. The score predictions, you know what? I really hope, because I don't know the backstory. I don't know what happened, but it came out on Sunday, because we, as Ravens fans, we so used to these stories, these heartbreaking stories of when the Ravens, they tried to trade for a player and the deal didn't go through.
I know you're getting that.
And it came out that they tried to trade for Xavier Howard.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, like, why? Like, and I was thinking, like, okay, was it that the Ravens, they weren't willing to give up the draft picks to get him? Because the Ravens, they can be very stingy with draft picks. Or it could have been that the Dolphins, they may not have wanted to pay for the majority of Xavier Howard's salary, because Ravens, they don't have much cap space. So whatever it was, deal didn't go through. So I want the Ravens to get some extra revenge for not letting us get Xavier Howard. What is his number? 29?
25.
So, 25. So I'm going to go 25 plus 8. So that's 33. And then I'll say Hollywood too. So plus 5. So that's 38. So I'm going to say 38-10.
Hey, man, you gave us 10 points. I'll take that.
Yeah, 38-10.
But it was a blast having you on. This isn't going to be the last time. Where can if people don't already know, where can everyone find you?
YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Everything is Engraving Vids. All one word all together. It's Team Keep It Clean. On the channel, we do Ravens content literally every single day. But we also just talk football. So no matter if you're a fan of the Ravens, you're a fan of the Dolphins, whatever team you're a fan of, you're more than welcome to come check out the channel.
Definitely, bud. Well, thank you so much for stopping by, giving me some insight. Hopefully it's a fun game, but if not, it'll probably be fun for you at least. Take it easy, man.
Oh, yeah.
Greatly appreciate him giving me the time, coming over, giving some great insight on the Ravens, some things that I didn't even know about. He came and told us about it. So, again, go over, check him out, hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet, which you should have, because he's fantastic. That being said, let's get into the injury report. Pop up the Miami Dolphins injury report. And again, being that they are playing on Thursday, the way it works is Monday's a walkthrough, Tuesday's the practice, Wednesday's kind of just meetings and stuff, and then you got Thursday, the game practice. So again, I'm recording this Monday night. I like to put my previews out about a day before. So I, put my preview out Friday, you got Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday's the game. Putting it out Tuesday, and you got Wednesday and Thursday as the game. So this was just a walkthrough, and they say that, would have participated would have been just the center, Greg Maines, who I'm hearing he had a leg injury, and probably Ritter, or Ryder. I think it's Ritter, but they say Ryder is going to go. Then Jerome Baker, Elijah Campbell, Brandon Jones, and Tua Tagovailoa would have been limited. I'm hearing from Tua. Now, again, this is what I'm hearing today being Monday. He's still an unknown decision. They don't know if he'll be ready to go. And then again, watching the game, the on-field reporter said that the reason he did not play against the Texans is because the swelling in his finger wasn't allowing him to grip the ball properly. And throughout the week, the Dolphins were asking him to make certain throws. And if they noticed that it was harder for him to make the throw, or he looked uncomfortable making the throw, they held him out. And it seemed like pre-snap or pre-game, they noticed it, so they held him out. That being said, Tua, if he had it his way, he could have one missing leg. He'd want to go out on the field and play. Dolphins are trying to win. So, yes, he might say, I could do it, I could do it, I could do it. Yes, you can do it, but if it's limiting your throw, if it's limiting how you play, it's best if we just sit you. So a lot of people want to say he got benched. Me personally, I don't think he got benched. I think in worst case emergency, make the short throws that you need to, but we're going to put Brissett out there. That being said, is he going to play this week? I don't know. Me sitting here right now, it's a 50-50 shot he plays. Do I want him to play? Yes. Because tomorrow we're breaking down the film of the game, and I know for a fact I'm going to find some passes that Jacoby Brissett just completely missed on. I already saw one of them, Kirk Merritt, underthrew him, would have been a touchdown. So that being said, I'll keep you guys updated throughout the videos, because I have hundreds of them before we get to Thursday, talking about if Tua is going to play or not. Then we look at the Baltimore Ravens injury report. Offensive lineman Patrick McCarry didn't participate. Running back Latavius Murray did not participate, and then limited for Nick Boyle, Marquise Brown, Sammy Watkins. Yeah, Sammy Watkins. I don't know why, for some reason, I was like, Sammy Watkins. Brandon Williams and Tavon Young. They also have, and this is something that me and Ink Raven talked about, they have a ton of players on injured reserve, some big players on injured reserve. J.K. Dobbins, Marquise Peters. They got some big names on injured reserve. So they're a pretty banged up team. He was even saying, you show me the injured reserve and tell me we're going to be sitting there at 6-2, I'd probably laugh at you. So they're pretty banged up. Let's look at the 5 things the Dolphins need to do if they want to pull off this upset of the year, which I think last week the Bills-Jaguars were kind of the upset of the year. It's fun to watch. But if they want to pull off this gigantic upset, here are the 5 things the Dolphins need to do. And again, no specific order, just 1 to 5, however it pops out of my brain. Number 1 on the list, though, you got to contain Lamar Jackson. You can't let that man run all over you. You can't let him gain extra yardage, especially on 3rd and whatever. He could be 3rd and 25. That guy might get a first down with his legs. Got to contain him in the pocket. You got to pressure him, and you got to get in his face. Dolphins are 3rd in the NFL right now. Last year, they were 3rd in the NFL in blitzing, Ravens were 2. Right now, they're 6th in the NFL in blitzing, and the Ravens are 5. It's going to be a very big blitzing game, but you got to get pressure on him. You can't let him get outside of the pocket. You can't let him. When the Bills game, watch the film breakdown. At one point, Josh Allen had 6 seconds to throw the ball. You can't do that. You can't leave your corners on an island with the receiver just running around at some point. Got to contain him. You got to get after him. The number 2 thing, and this is dumb. The fact that I have to put this on this list, the fact that this is a thing that the Dolphins need to do if they want to beat the Ravens is dumb. Better O-line play. Duh. But you just, like, there's some games where you're like, oh, the offensive line's actually playing pretty decent. Not last week. Not. Throughout the year, the Dolphins are leading the NFL in giving up pressure. They need to just be somewhat reasonable, especially against the Ravens, who are a very physical team. Somewhat reasonable. I'm not even asking for good. Just be reasonable. Give whoever the quarterback is time. Let some type of running game happen. Be somewhat reasonable. That's short and sweet for number 2 because it's just such a duh thing to put on there. The number 3 thing, though, no mistakes. 5 turnovers. 5 turnovers. And we were lucky the 5 turnovers were against the Houston Texans. Because if that 5 turnovers were against an actual good team, and Houston, if you're watching this, Houston Texan fans, you should not take any offense to that because you should already know that your team sucks. If someone came up to me and goes, wow, the Dolphins suck, I'd be like, wow, the sky's blue. But they were lucky to come out with a win after 5 turnovers against the Houston Texans. You do 5 turnovers against any competent team, you're going to lose. So be smart, no mistakes, especially when it comes to throws, especially when it comes to penalties. They actually were pretty good at penalties last week, so just no mistakes. This is a big game, and the Baltimore Ravens are so much better. You need to play a perfect game. The number 4 thing, the best of whoever's at quarterback. If it's Tua Tagovailoa, we need the best of Tua. We need the Tua that is going to throw 3 touchdowns, throw no interceptions. I don't care if it's 200 yards. I don't care if it's 350 yards. Just no interceptions and a ton of touchdowns. We need the best out of them. If it's Jacoby Brissett, stop taking forever to make your reads. Stop taking forever to throw the ball. You see the guy open, just whip it. You have the strength. That's the thing he has over Tua. A lot of people want to say that Jacoby Brissett's better than Tua. You're blind. But that being said, Jacoby Brissett has a stronger arm than Tua Tagovailoa. Tua Tagovailoa is quick with his throws, quick with his anticipation, whereas Jacoby Brissett's like a slug. Or he's a sloth. Ever see a sloth cross the street? Just very slow. And they just move. That's Jacoby Brissett. Drops back. Sees the guy open. Sees the guy still open. But he'll throw it for like 50 yards. He's got a great arm, but he's just... That hamster in the wheel in his head ate too many whatever pellets and is real fat, moving real slow. We need the best of whoever quarterback we have playing for us on Thursday. Well, that's the final thing on my list. You gotta stop the run. It's very easy, but you gotta stop the run. They did somewhat well last week against the Texans, but again, no offense, but you shouldn't take anything offense at this point, Houston. You suck. So the fact that the Dolphins stopped the run, there were still some points where the Dolphins weren't doing too great. Got to set the edge, force the run to the inside, and make the tackles. Stop the run, force the Ravens to become one-dimensional. That being said, do I expect to win this game? No. This is like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game. I do not expect them. Going into this season, I had this game as a loss. I had the Buccaneers game as a loss. I had one of the Bills games as a loss. I think I had the Titans game as a loss. I think I had like 5 or 6 losses going into this year. So I don't expect them to win this game. I was actually going to go to this game. I've never been to a night game in Miami. I wanted to go to a night game, being that it's on a Thursday. It didn't work out. That being said, again, I'll say it again. That being said, I don't think the Dolphins are going to win this game. I think they'll do better than they did in 2019. I think they'll do better than they normally do. And I think you're going to be like, because a lot of times when you don't expect the Dolphins to do well and you don't expect them to win, they kind of play competitive. Look at the Bills game, 3-3 at halftime. And we had a chance to be up 13-3 at halftime with a muffed fumble and a blocked field goal. Go back and watch it. It was actually blocked. Look at this team. All right. And then there you go. There's the team we expected. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You're like, oh, look at this. We're kind of in this game. And there it goes. The first Bills game, we gave up those 2 touchdowns. Then they didn't score anything for a good quarter and a half, almost 2 quarters. And the Dolphin offense was in the red zone multiple times. Could have tied it up. So again, we play competitive against we play up to opponents, down to opponents. So I expect it to be like look at, we're in this. And me get my hopes up on the live stream, like, yeah, come on. And then all of a sudden, crap the bed. I think they'll lose. I think they'll lose 35-17. I hope not. Man, this will chain them together, boys. Because after this, you got the Jets, you got the Panthers, you got the Giants, you got the Jets again. Jets aren't pushovers. Panthers, Sam Darnold, he sucks. Giants, they're starting to come into their own. Just chain them together. Chain them together. 1 game at a time. So we'll see how it all pans out. But be sure to comment below. Let me know what you think. What do you think about what Ink Raven had to say? What do you think about my 5 things the Dolphins need to do to beat the Ravens? And we get some of you guys' comments of the day. And I asked you guys on Twitter, get at me with a question. And this comes from @iHunter69. And he says, I do. Give me your dream head coaching hire if this thing goes to hell. For me, it's Jim Harbaugh. He said Harbaugh, but then he eventually puts Jim there, Michigan. For me, again, I'm not there yet. I don't know. Again, we all know how Stephen Ross works. He's probably going to give however much time. Well, we'll give 1 more year. It was a bad year. It was a down year. Yet, whatever. If he does do the right thing, like say it does go to hell, say we win only 2 more games and we go 4-13. Yeah. I'm going to do all this math in your head. 4-13. And they're like, look, he's like, we can't. It was just such a drastic drop. And they get rid of him. And if they get rid of him, they need to get rid of Greer. For me, it's not one or the other. It's both. Both or nothing. I just want a head coach who's done it before. Like you said, you bring up Jim Harbaugh. Makes sense. I want a coach who's done it before. And if you don't bring in a coach who's done it before, say you bring in Brian Daboll, who has the Bills offense doing really well. Say you bring in whoever who is doing really well as a coordinator, used to be a head coach, then I want that guy to be smart enough to bring in veteran assistants. Say Mike Zimmer gets fired. I want Mike Zimmer as my defensive coordinator. I'm going to write that down. Because he was fantastic as a defensive coordinator. Bring in guys who can help you. That's all I care about. Bring in veteran coordinators. Don't bring in, this guy's straight from college. He was their water boy. Now he's their offensive coordinator. What good does that do us? There's no good at all. So bring in experience. So, Jim Harbaugh is a name that's been floated around because of the Michigan tie-in, and will Stephen Ross pull him from Michigan? We'll see if Brian Flores gets fired. Because if Brian Flores doesn't get fired, DC's going to get fired, Josh Boyer, then those 2 OCs aren't going to be... It's going to clean house anyway, so it's going to be interesting regardless. But yeah, that's my answer. Hope I answered it correctly. Well, and that, guys, I will see you tomorrow. You're getting 2 videos tomorrow. In the morning, you're going to get me and Big O's video. Finally, we're making a video off of a win. We have a lot to talk about. That's going to come out about 10 o'clock in the morning. And then later on in the day, probably around like 6 or 7 o'clock, you're going to get the film breakdown video. Like I told you, it's a short week, so you're going to get a lot out of me. And then Thursday, before the game, you're going to get the picks video. And then Thursday night, I will be live for the game. So if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up on all of the videos that come out this week. Lets me know you appreciate all the stuff I'm doing. But other than that, guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Like usual, stay classy. And fins up.